Okay, so we started this mimer last week. I'll do a brief synopsis of what we saw. This is a mimer that the Rabbi said on Lag Ba'omer, Tafshin Tov Beis 1962, and it's based on a pasuk in Tehillim Shir Amalos to David. Hine matoi v'manoim sheves achim gam yachad. So, Hine matoi v'manoim is a well-known phrase. We sing it. It's actually from Tehillim, and in the Frierdiker Rebbe, he said a mimer starting with this pasuk Hine matoi v'manoim. He said this mimer actually at the engagement of his daughter Shena, who married somebody by the name of Menachem Mendel Horenstein. They were killed in the war, and at their engagement, it was on Lag Ba'omer. He said this mimer Hine matoi v'manoim, and he said that what does it mean? The verse says that this is what is beautiful, how beautiful and how nice it is. Sheves achim gam yachad, when brothers sit together. Literally, Sheves achim, the sitting of brothers, also when they're united. So the Frierdiker Rebbe explained that what it means, achim here, brothers is not referring to brothers, referring to fraternal souls, soul mates, souls that belong together. Like a brother and sister come from the same source, so too soulmates come from the same spiritual source. Achim here is referring to soulmates. And Sheves achim, the sitting together of soulmates, refers to when they get engaged. Gam yachad, and then they become one, is when they get married. That's what the verse is referring to on a mystical level. The Frierdiker Rebbe also mentioned what the Zohar says. The Zohar says that it's referring to the Achim, the siblings, is referring to Hashem and the Jewish people, who are spiritual siblings, one, connected. And when it says Sheves Achim Gam Yachad, it means that Hashem is connected to the Jewish people, not just in the spiritual sense, but even down here in this world, we're like siblings. And so the Rebbe explained that the Frierdiker Rebbe, based on that, on the Zohar, understood that it's talking also about soulmates, because the ultimate soulmates are Hashem and the Jewish people, compared to a male and female in love. And so that's on the spiritual realm. In the physical realm, that's represented by a male and a female coming together to be engaged and then finally married. And then the simple level of this pasuk, it's talking about the Jewish people amongst themselves, having unity and brotherhood and oneness, that not just we're connected, Sheves achim, we can sit together because we're connected, but Gam Yachad, we're actually one, we're united as one. And the Rabbi explained that only through recognizing the fact that Hashem and the Jewish people are one, can you actually be one with your fellow Jew. Because Avos Yisrael, the love of a fellow Jew, is based on recognition that we're all from the same divine source. We're actually united in our source, as it says in Tanya. And so the more in tuned you are with the divine source of the soul, the more unity you feel with your fellow Jew. And so the simple level of the verse is explained by the deeper level of this verse. And then we concluded, this section concluded by saying that, and how can you really experience this unity and this love of your fellow? So the verse continues and says, "Kashem and atov al rosh yored al zakan zakan hare she yored al pi midosaf," which means it compares this oneness, this unity. It's like the good oil that is on the head, that runs down the beard of Aaron, and runs down all of his measurements, literally meaning his clothes. So the unity and love and oneness amongst the Jewish people is like this good oil that runs down the head of Aaron, Moshe's brother, goes down his beard and all over his clothes.
So helpful.
And we sort of left it at that. And the Rabbi said, don't worry, later we'll explain that. So that's more or less where we're up to. So let's continue now. On page Reish Nun Beis, on the top right of the page, it should say Reish Nun Beis. On the flip side of the front page, at the top there's section base. The second paragraph there starts with base, the second section of the main. We're going to understand all this love and unity amongst soulmates, amongst the Jewish people, Hashem and the Jewish people, thank you. Behektem, by first looking into something else. This Maimah, remember, was a Maimah that the Rebbe said on Lag BaOmer. Lag BaOmer, which is coming up, is the day of the passing of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, the author of the Zohar. And so what this Maimah is going to bring out is the power of the Zohar, the power of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, and by extension the power of Pnimius HaTorah, the inner aspect of Torah, which was revealed by Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. That even though Kabbalah, Pnimius HaTorah, the inner part of Torah existed before Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, it's part of Torah that was there since Mount Sinai and before, but it was Reb Shimon Bar Yochai that started to reveal it, to teach it openly in the form of what became known as the Zohar. So this Maimah is going to show the power of the Zohar, and the reason why it started with the verse Hine Matov Manoim Shevis Achim Gam Yochad, we're going to see, is because Reb Shimon Bar Yochai explained this verse in the Zohar in depth, and there's a particular episode that happened through Reb Shimon's explanation of this verse. So that's this will all come together now. This will all be understood by first prefacing something that says in the Zohar. There's a story told in the Zohar that says the following: It once happened that the world was in desperate need of rain. There was a drought in the world. So people approached Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. He was the tzaddik of the generation, and basically said to him, "Can you daven for us? We need rain." So the Zohar says, "Al deisha amadrush b'pasuk hine matov manoim sheves achim gam yochad yored mata." So Reb Shimon Bar Yochai started saying a drush, a lecture, a lesson, based on the verse Hine Matov Manoi, the verse we've been discussing, and it started raining. That's what the Zohar says. So in the midst of a drought, they came to Reb Shimon and said, "Can you do something about it?" He said, "Sure." He started giving a class. So assumedly, the people in the class probably would have been wondering what's going on. We came to you as the tzaddik of the generation to daven for rain. We need rain. There's a drought. We're starving. And instead of doing what tzaddikim usually did, and it was the expected thing, is to start davening, he could have locked himself in a room somewhere or called a mass prayer service for everybody to get together and daven. Instead of that, he started speaking Torah. Started a drasha, giving a drasha. A drasha on the pasuk Hine Matov Manoim Sheves Achim Gam Yochad. And in the midst of him saying that, it started pouring with rain. That's the Zohar story. So the Rebbe says, "V'yadu hadiyuk b'zeh." Now, it's known, what's pointed out in this, in many mamarim of the Rebbeim that speak about this episode. Haramatzinu shebechdei lifol yiridus geshamim hayu meisifim sheish brachas b'shemona esrei. V'goizrim yud gimel tanyas. We find in the Gemara elaborate descriptions of what used to happen when they needed it to rain. Droughts are not strange to Israel; it happens all the time. And when it needed to rain, they would add 6 extra blessings in the Shemona Esrei. There would be an announcement that everyone has to daven extra. There would be 6 extra blessings put into the daily Shemona Esrei that they would have to say. The goes Yud Gimel Tainis, and they would decree 13 fast days on the community. So fasting, extra prayer. It was a major upheaval because rain was the basis of everything we need, and if it wasn't raining, it's serious stuff. And so the Gemara goes through. There's a whole Masechta called Tainis about fasting, and there's a section in that Gemara that talks about what would happen when there was a need for rain. They used to daven Ne'ilah sometimes in the middle of the year. We only do it on Yom Kippur. They used to do it mid-year. They'd have a Ne'ilah, special services, and it would be crazy times. They would be desperate for rain. So that's what they used to do. The Gemara there also tells a story of a Choni Ma'agel, a famous character by the name of Choni HaMa'agel, Choni the circle maker. Because he was a big tzaddik who drew a circle in the ground, stood in it, and started davening to Hashem, saying that he's not going to leave the circle till it rains. And it worked. It started raining. So we find that the normal reaction, the traditional reaction to a drought, is mass prayer services, extra fasts.
So that's 13 extra fasts?
Yes.
Right.
Meaning to be introspective, to do tshuva, to try and draw down through great effort and major self-examination the divine mercy that it should rain. That was the normal way of doing it. And you had tzaddikim also who, like Chaim Ma'agel was a major tzaddik, and the way he did it was he drew a circle and wouldn't budge, would start davening, and he drew down rain. It worked for him as well.
Like fast and not until it rained, right?
I don't know if he was fasting. It wasn't. It was, but he was davening. He would daven until it rained. So the general populace would do extra davening and fasting. Chaim Ma'agel, a tzaddik, would also daven, but daven in the idea of drawing a circle and saying, "I'm not leaving here till it rains." Man, this is not like a casual little prayer. This is serious. This is urgent, and so I'm not budging until it happens.
And
So
he
this
was reminding them that it's part of his marriage contract to give to Jewish people what he needs. When he said those words.
Mhm.
And so then Hashem gave way, because that's his job.
Okay. So, but what we see from here is there's a sense of urgency and major effort that was put in when it needed to rain. You had to daven, you had to call, you had to arouse some divine mercy. It was a dramatic thing. That's the normal situation. But when it came to Reb Shimon Bar Yochai in this situation, he achieved it by just saying a drasha, just teaching. No drama, no fasting, no praying, no circle drawing. Just like, okay, so let's learn a bit. Sit around and took out the books. So he started giving a drasha. It's uncharacteristic. It doesn't seem like that's how it works. And yet this is how Reb Shimon Bar Yochai was able to achieve rain through effortless, like giving a drasha. So it needs to be explained what was different about Reb Shimon Bar Yochai that he could do this and other tzaddikim didn't have this power. What did he do differently? What was his uniqueness? So Nekudas Abir Bazer, the next paragraph. Nekudas Abir Bazer, the kernel of the explanation, the point is, Kemuvim Madrashim, as is explained in many previous Mamarim, the fact that you need to make a major effort, an upheaval, an introspection in order to draw down rain, that's if you're davening. If the method you're using is davening, so then that davening has to be big. It has to be major. Why? Because what davening is by definition is an appeal from below to above. Meaning we down here appealing to Hashem up there to draw down whatever blessing it is we need. Milamata l'mayla, that's what davening is. L'chein b'chdeisha avodah tefillah d'atachtonim ta'or v'tamshich geshamim. In order for our efforts, our prayers, our call from below, down here, should awaken above, rain should come down, for that to be successful. Because it should be noted that rain is something that comes from above ishtalshlus, above the normal system of things, as we'll explain in a minute. So we need to draw down something from above the system. It's not raining and we want it to rain. It's a drought. It's not raining. You want it to rain? So you're asking for a new opening in heaven to open up and allow rain to come. The weather is it's not raining. That's the fact. That's nature. You want it to rain now, so you're appealing to above ishtalshlus for it to rain. And who's appealing? You down here. You're making the request through your effort, through your opening up your heart, that the heavens should open up. For that to work, that takes major effort. That's got to be a a really big deal. That's not just a casual davening. That has to be with all your heart. There has to be a major upheaval down here, some change going on. You're wanting the heavens to change. You're wanting nature to change. You're wanting the normal system to be overridden and rain to come. So you're going to have to override something in yourself. You're going to have to find something deep within yourself to call down such a thing. As it says in the notes on the bottom, in note 17, it says, in the Gemara Tanya says, that one of the things that was never given over to a shliach, to a representative, to look after, is rain. Rain is in Hashem's hands, and only Hashem himself. He doesn't give that over to anybody else. There are three things the Gemara there lists that nobody else, that only Hashem looks after. He doesn't give to anyone else. Parnasa, rain, and
Life and death.
Health?
No, angel of
childbirth.
No, but the angel of death comes during childbirth.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, but to give someone a child.
Yeah, the Maftecha Shel Chai, it says, of giving birth. These are things that Hashem handles himself.
What about shidduchim? That feels pretty. Yeah, I thought that's what he did all day.
Probably has lots of malachim helping you.
Right.
Yeah. There he will allow malachim to do their bit. But these things, right? Sorry, Parnasa is rain. It's the same thing.
But he sent the
Tchias HaMeisim
angels.
was the third one.
But he sends the angels to tell you that you're going to have a baby. So how's that something he does on his own?
When do you get these angels?
Abraham and Sarah, they have angels.
Yeah, but
That's just saying the news. That's not giving. That's not making them give birth. That's you could tell the news. You can send a message and tell the news.
Right.
But with this, like, causing this to happen, so is that like for our davening every day?
What do you mean?
Like, in order to cause this massive arousal, to give us something physical in this world, we have to go through some major upheaval.
Yeah,
To
that's
get something physical in
yeah,
our
in other
world,
words-
but we
in
do it
other-
every day just for everything, like...
right. But for that davening to have an effect, particularly to have an effect to draw down something that's above ishtalshelus, so that davening has to be above ishtalshelus. It has to be like a deep thing. This is why.
So if our davening is not like that, it basically means we're not being listened to.
If we're not tzaddiks, that's
it's
not going to happen.
it's not going to single-handedly
Yeah, I think
turn
that-
around.
For the natural occurrence is to keep going, and you can keep walking, keep breathing, and keep doing all the things you're doing because that's what's naturally meant to happen.
Yeah, if something is winded in ishtalshelus, then you're just davening should be maintained. So then that davening, for it to have a greater effect, it has to be deeper. But of course, you're not asking for Hashem to override the system. So that's fine. But if you're asking nature to be altered, the course of nature should not happen like it normally does. So then that can't be just normal davening. That has to come from a very deep
Currents
place.
of rain is a natural thing.
But not
But
It's
not
not
today.
time.
Not if it's a drought. Not if there's no clouds in the sky. It's not going to rain.
Wouldn't drought be more unnatural than rain?
More
Not in the
unnatural.
desert.
Yeah.
No, droughts happen and just go on and on. That's normal.
Do you know,
Eventually it's
they
going to
just
rain.
had
But
big rain, didn't they, in Israel? But before that, the Kinneret was so low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Really
happens all the
bad
time.
situation.
The Torah already says that unlike Mitzrayim,
Yeah.
that has the Nile River that overflows and irrigates the land. So they have a very predictable source of water, which is why Egypt was always a superpower, because it just had stuff growing. Whereas Israel is completely dependent on rain, and that's very irregular. Which means
Regularly irregular.
Egypt doesn't need to turn to God, but Israel does.
Yeah.
My brother found Aboriginals by the Tiberias, by the Kinneret, davening for rain in Australia.
Seriously?
For real.
That is crazy.
Can I ask you something? If your davening needs to come from above
They must have been like part of
Yes.
the Christian movement.
how come it can be a set
Knew it was the holy
6
place for
prayers
water
and
wanted
13
prayer
fasts?
in
Isn't that very
Yeah.
Sederly?
in full body paint, everything.
What's above Ishtalshelus is not. It's not the words you're saying have to be. It's the lev, the heart behind it. Davening is called avodah b'lev. It's your emotional state is the davening.
Right,
The words,
Nirvana.
right? But the words, those words were put together by Nevi'im and by holy people who knew words that express your soul's
Right.
desire correctly. You could come up with your own davening, and there's a personal davening thing that's as well. But your words may or may not hit the spot. These words do. The main thing is the heart behind it, the emotion behind it. So if you're fasting and you're doing all this extra stuff, so then that's supposed to arouse within you a sense of the seriousness and urgency and the dependence we have on Hashem. And that type of davening is going to have an effect. So, and the reason why it has to be that way is because davening is a conversation between us and Hashem where we are down here saying, we need rain. I'm asking you to make it rain. So the question is, who's asking? You're asking? And why should it rain for you? Like what, why should your request be granted? So if you're asking from the depth of your heart and you're meaning it and you're doing tshuva and you're changing yourself, so then Hashem can change himself, as it were, and even though he decided it's not going to rain, it will rain. Because tefillah is what's called milamata l'mayla. It's starting from us. We are initiating the request down here, sending it up there that it should come down. So therefore, it needs major effort. That's when you're going on the path of tefillah, of davening for something. The Rashbi, but Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, himshach yiridus geshomim al miras Torah. He was able to draw down the miracle of rain through saying Torah, through teaching Torah. The Torah hi milamayla lamata, because Torah is not from below to above, but rather from above to below. Torah it started up in heaven. It's Hashem's wisdom that came down to us. It's not us talking to Hashem, it's Hashem talking to us. And so therefore, if you're able to draw down a miracle through Torah, that doesn't take effort. Because it's not you scraping down here for a reason for it to rain. It's you going up to the source and drawing down rain. Because Torah comes from above down to below. So therefore he could sit comfortably and teach a lesson in Torah. You didn't have to draw circles or fast or do anything dramatic. Just learn Torah. And that, by doing that, and the man will explain this in depth, by doing that he was able to go above the source of rain and draw it down. To open the gates of heaven that way. And that doesn't take major effort.
And that links to the beard and the oil, like. I'm just wondering how that is like.
Yeah, how?
You said chapter 8
know.
last week. Still till.
Yeah, it does.
I'm asking.
It does.
Okay.
But we'll see how later. It's good.
Right.
What you're saying is right. We'll get there. We'll get there. So this will all be explained in detail more, but the general gist of it now, the nekudas of the point of it is that a normal tzaddik operates through davening, where he davens for something, or the population davens for something. Davening means milamata lamayla. Down here we're asking for something to come down from below. So then down here we have to change, we have to create the vessel, we have to somehow deserve it. So that's major effort. Whereas Torah, when we learn Torah, it's milamayla lamata. It's we're listening to Hashem's words. You're drawing down the divine word. It's not you creating it, it's Hashem. Torah is from Hashem, not from you. You're receiving His message. Davening is when we talk to Hashem. Learning is when Hashem talks to us.
It would seem like Torah would be the way to do it, just following, like Torah is compared to water. Water's, obviously related to this.
Right, well, so what's water? Water's from above to below.
Yeah, always. It always flows from.
Yeah. So therefore, that's just an easy way of doing it. That's simple. Simple way of getting rain is to study a part of Torah, and that will draw down the blessing, because Torah is from above to below. So why didn't everyone do that? Why didn't anyone daven? Why was Chonim Mahagel making circles all over the place? And people fasting and then davening. Just sit and learn.
No.
The answer is not anyone can do that. Rashbi could do it. Shim Bar Yochai could do it. Why? Second last paragraph on the page. V'atam al zeh Rashbi dafke himshich yirizk sham al dein miras Torah. The reason why it was specifically Rashbi, Reb Shim Bar Yochai, who had this ability to draw down rain through Torah, it's because rain, after a period of drought, is a change in the world, is an unexpected thing. We're not talking about here rain that might rain and you say, oh please, it's not going to rain, it's a drought, and you're asking for it to rain. For that to happen, that is an absolute transformation of reality, of nature. Generally speaking, when you want to make a change in the world, you don't just want things to continue as they are, or things that you're hoping to come to. You want to change reality. Generally speaking, that's through tefillah. That you have to daven for. Learning Torah doesn't do that. It's tefillah that does that, not Torah. Kimvur b'Tanya, as it's explained in Tanya, that tefillah has the power to request from Hashem a new will. He wanted it to be this way, I'm asking you to be that way. That's what tefillah is. You're asking Hashem to change His mind, as it were. So tefillah is what usually achieves a change in reality. Elisha Rashbi, but Reb Shimon Bar Yochai was a bit of an exception. Gam be'esek haTorah shaloi, he said, Gam ha'mailadu tefillah. In his Torah, it also had the power of tefillah, of prayer. The strength that tefillah has, that it is able to change reality, which Torah generally doesn't have that, but his Torah is different. Reb Shimon Bar Yochai's Torah has the power to change reality. And therefore he, Dafka, was the one who could cause it to rain through teaching Torah. Others couldn't do this.
Did they try?
Maybe. Yeah?
So when you say that the rain after a period of drought is so unexpected and kind of so far-fetched and totally unnatural, and I don't really get that, because we need rain and sun, and we all go, not we all, Sydney also tends to go through some drought sometimes, but it's whatever, it's not like Israel. But the fact is that up until now, what we know of the world is there's always going to be rain. We might go through drought for a bit longer and be a bit more scared, but there's going to be rain. It's natural right? So why is it so unnatural? Aren't you just asking it to come when you need it as opposed to held out?
Right, but for it to rain now is unnatural. In other words, they woke up in the morning, it's a drought. It's still a drought. There's no clouds in the sky. There's no the weather report does not say chance of rain. There's no chance of rain. And for Rashbi to sit and say Hine matov manoim shev zafim gam yochad, and start teaching, and all of a sudden clouds appear and it starts pouring. That is not nature. That's not like a bit of an unexpected change. That couldn't happen. You're right. Eventually, the drought gradually eases, and like a trickle of rain and a bit of a cloud somewhere. But for it to suddenly start raining, like now, today, that's a miracle.
Do we know if that then became the nature, and that time of year, every year, it rained? We don't.
No. So we haven't filled in the gaps. We have to fill in this concept. But the principle is that, generally speaking, if you want to change in the world, you need to daven for it. If you want things to happen differently to the expected, you have to daven for it. Because davening is asking for a change. And therefore it's hard. It's hard to ask for a change, because why? Why should it change? Why should it change for you? So if you have changed, if you have done this major tshuva and fasting, and so then you can achieve a change, okay? If you haven't changed, so why should Hashem? So davening takes effort. Learning Torah also draws down blessing. But learning Torah draws down blessing without as much effort. Because learning Torah is not about you, it's about Torah, it's about Hashem's wisdom. Davening is about you requesting something. Learning Torah is about listening to what Hashem says. So you might be the biggest whatever in the world, but you're learning Torah. Torah is holy, it's the divine word. So you're absorbing the divine, you're drawing down blessing into the world. But generally speaking, learning Torah is not going to make a change. It's not going to change the world to that something unexpected will happen. It'll just bring more blessing into the world. Reb Shimon Bar Yochai is different. he was able to learn Torah, and his Torah had the power of tefillah to change the world. So all this has to be explained. Why is tefillah able to change the world? Why Torah doesn't usually? And why Reb Shimon Bar Yochai can? Yeah? So let's start the next section, Gimel. The idea is this. The achiluk ben Torah utfilah hu al derech achiluk ben beracha utfilah. The difference between learning Torah and davening is similar to the difference between a beracha, somebody giving a blessing, or somebody davening. Some of you may recall that we saw this in another Maimer. Some of you may have vujadei. That. What's the difference between somebody giving a bracha? It'll come to you. You watch. Somebody giving a bracha or somebody davening for something. What is the difference between the two? Right. In other words, somebody gives you a bracha. You should be healthy. You should find a shidduch. You should have a child. You should have parnasa.
Creating you to concern.
That's giving a bracha. Or there's somebody says, "I'll daven for you to have parnasa or health or a child or a shidduch." What's the difference between a bracha and tefillah?
I think with tefillah, you could, with a bracha, it's more physical, not physical. You're right there, so you can concern yourself with them for that time. But in tefillah, that's time between you and Hashem, and you're bringing that person into it.
And why is a bracha not that?
Because that's not designated time between you and Hashem. It's actually time between you and maybe your friend.
But it doesn't mean daven shachris. It means, I'm going to daven for you. Right now, I'm going to daven that you should have parnasa. And I daven that you should have parnasa. Or I give you a bracha that you should have parnasa. What's the difference between the two?
One's a declaration.
Which
The
one?
bracha is a speech that creates physical change in this world. Tefillah is you changing yourself to create change into this world.
But when you're taking like a power from above in order to bless somebody else, and the other you're taking yourself and bringing it to above.
Right. So which is more likely to work?
Bracha, I would say a bracha probably. Actually, no.
The bracha.
Bracha, you're
Bracha,
bringing
you're
change
taking,
into the world.
like, power from
But
above.
who
and
are
giving-
you to bless someone else? It's not like you're some great tzaddik to like,
No, but-
I'm gonna like...
Who aren't you to?
Who aren't
Like
you to
that-
bring more positive vibes in the world?
Just to like say it. I don't know, there are so many things you could say that...
If I really wanted something, I wouldn't call you out and say like, please give me a bracha for this.
Why not?
No, I'm saying like...
Who would you call? Would you call Rabbi Moss?
I would daven. Like, I would think that that's what I would do. I mean, if it was more powerful for someone to give me a bracha, then we'd just be calling people and telling them to bless us all the time.
Some people do.
It's like, here's my number.
So and what about from a rabbi?
Yeah,
Yeah, but
so
you
that's
constantly go to
different.
people for blessing.
So that's different.
So that's different, yeah.
I struggle with going to rabbis for blessings. I definitely struggle with the concept of going to kafarim to daven in front of them. Like, I definitely struggle with that.
Right. So what's the point? Just daven. Just daven.
What is it?
So let's analyze what's a bracha and what's tefillah. They're different. They're two different things. And what one achieves, the other one doesn't. The tefillah hi milamata lamayla kanal. As we said earlier, tefillah, prayer, is milamata lamayla, from below to above. Me down here, asking Hashem up there to send down some bounty, some need. Shamispal hulamata, the one davening is down here, umavakesh yashpilo milamayla, and is requesting that from above something should come down.
That's the bracha.
That's tefillah. Tefillah is you down here requesting Hashem up there to send me down something that I need, or somebody else needs, whatever it is. So that's milamata lamayla, from below to above. The request is starting down here, looking up there saying, I need something, please send it down to me. Ubracha milamayla lamata, but a bracha is from above to below. Why? Shamavarech, because the one who gives a blessing, meaning somebody who has the power to bless. Valderech Avram Avinu, Shamaloi Kosh Baruch HaBrachas Nusnuslach, like Avram Avinu, Hashem said, brachas are yours. You can bless whoever you want. He was given the power to bless. Kohanim are given the power to bless. Tzaddikim are able to bless. Jewish people are able to bless. A hedyot, a simple person, also you shouldn't ignore their blessing, it says in the Gemara. Everyone has the power to bless. Some more than others. I'm not mentioning names. But some have the power more than others to bless. So if you have the power to bless, or if this particular bracha is something that's within your capability to give, what are you doing by giving the blessing? Bottom line after the brackets. It means that you are on a level that is higher than the source of the blessing that you are offering. And therefore you're able to push down that blessing from above to below.
So can we then infer that whoever is above the level?
Right. So, who has a power to bless? Somebody who they stand on a level that's higher than the source of the blessing, and therefore they are able to push it down from above to below. Tefillah, praying, is where you're down here. You're not up there. You're down here, and you're asking, please send me down this blessing. A bracha is, I am above the blessing. I'm a master of that blessing. It's under my belt. It's something that I can handle, and I can send it to you. I can manipulate it to send it down to you.
What do you mean standing above? So do you need to be wealthy to give someone a blessing of wealth?
No, because it's talking about you're above the spiritual source of the blessing. That your level is so high, your spiritual level is so high that the source of the blessing is beneath you. You can manipulate it. You can control it.
So we can give brachas for Gashmi's things because that's below us, but not necessarily.
Well, you're trying to say everything's below us, which is the spiritual reality.
No. It does. A blessing for Gashmis. Giving a bracha is different to giving a check, right? But it's similar. I can't give you a gift if I don't own it, right? I can't write a check if there's no money in the bank. I can't give you something I don't have. I can only give you a gift of something that I have, that I own. That's Gashmias. A bracha is not giving you the thing. If somebody gives you a bracha for parnasa, it's not giving you a job or giving you money. They're opening up a pipeline, a spiritual pipeline, that blessing should come towards you in the form of income. That's what the blessing of parnasa means. So who can give that bracha? Somebody who stands spiritually above the spiritual pipeline of parnasa, who's higher than it, who's gone beyond that level where parnasa comes from, the spiritual source of parnasa, and therefore they can direct it to you.
How do you stand above that if that's the only thing that's giving brachas?
Well, Hashem has to respond to the bracha.
It's very ambiguous.
Can Malachim respond to brachas?
No.
Am I understanding correctly that we kind of shouldn't be giving brachas
Until we spiritually stand above.
until we feel confident enough that we are
Torah
spiritually
says
in
we
line with that
No.
But I don't even know
No.
what that means.
No, but you shouldn't be taking money for those brachas.
I promise you I'm not.
Don't make a living
No,
out of
but
it.
really, people should.
Don't advertise.
Right.
The Gemara says, "Al ti birchas hedyot kal beinacha." Do not take lightly the blessing of a simple person. So when you can turn to your friend and say, "Give me a bracha," and that person can give you a bracha, and it might be that just at that moment there was something shining on their soul, and they were able to give you a blessing, and it works. But doesn't mean people should line up outside of their house to get a blessing from that person. Anyone can give a bracha, and giving brachas is good. Saying good words is always a good thing, and it does have some impact and some power. Every bracha has some power, but for it to be for sure that I should travel across the world to get a bracha from you, that needs to be somebody who's on top of that level.
On a very simple level, like, should we be giving them out? Because
Absolutely.
we can?
Absolutely, you should give them out. But like, if it doesn't come true, like,
Yeah, right.
so don't stop. You know, like,
I'm so
You
confused.
should really stop?
no, you shouldn't stop.
Oh, right.
It's not so surprising.
I'm so confused about this, like, ethereal concept of above the spiritual level of the source of where that bracha would come from to open up a spiritual pipeline for that person in that. Like, to me, that's just, it doesn't make sense.
So there were some people who would go to a Rebbe and ask for a bracha, and they wouldn't get it. The Rebbe wouldn't give him a bracha. Change the subject, or said something vague. Just didn't offer that bracha to them. Why? You know, a Rebbe is so generous with blessings. You know, like this person needs this blessing, but to ignore them. So why? Because when somebody would ask a Rebbe for a bracha, the Rebbe would look at that person and see their spiritual source, see their soul, see what's coming to that soul, and see what the soul deserves and what's there and what's not there. And some things are there, they just need to be drawn down. Other things are just not there. They're not present. Some of you might remember the spiritual bank account. So if it's not in your spiritual bank account, you can't make a withdrawal. It's just not there. So who's able to see that? I can't. I can't tell you what's in your Sherish and Hashem, the source of your soul, what's waiting to come down. I can't, because I'm not there. In fact, I can't even explain to you or describe to you what it's like, or how to get there, or direction. I have no idea. That's because I'm not a tzaddik. A tzaddik is somebody who's familiar with the heavenly realms. That's what makes them a tzaddik. They're not a tzaddik just because they're a nice guy. They're a tzaddik because they know what's going on in the heavens. And so they know that there's certain brachas that could come to you, certain that can't.
But doesn't their spiritual higher status enable them to draw that down? Like,
Only if it's there. You can only draw it down if it's there. If it's not there, you can't draw it down.
Why does it have to be limited by you there? Like, why can't you just be high? Why can't the bracha just be higher than that?
That's tefillah,
Dun, 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 dun.
which we'll see. So the power, that's what makes a tzaddik a tzaddik. I mean, this should just be a little insight for us to realize how we have no clue what's going on with a tzaddik. We don't know what's happening. We have no idea. Tzaddik looks at a person, sees what's in store for them, and draws it down sometimes.
It's pretty scary then to stand in front of it. So.
For sure. A lot of people wouldn't do it if they didn't have to. Many people, for example, there are many people who lived in Crown Heights, and they would not go past the Rebbe for dollars. For two possible reasons. One was, why should I waste his time? He has to stand an extra second for me just to walk past to see my face. Well, like, why should I burden him with that? That was one reason. But another reason was, do I really want to expose myself? Like, am I ready to stand in front of a Rebbe? You know, people who understand it didn't take it. It's not like a circus, fun, show. It's like, this is serious. You're exposing your soul to somebody. Are you ready for that? It's a big thing. So the nature of a bracha is to draw down from above. Somebody who is above the source can draw it down to you. Milamayla lamata. On the top of the page on the left. The top line. V'zeu shabrachi b'derech tzivui. And that's why a bracha was worded as a command. Not a request, but a command. You should live and be healthy. You should have children. You should find your shidduch. It's not, please Hashem. It's not a request, it's a demand. This is what should happen. Because the person giving the blessing is above the source of the blessing, so therefore he can direct it and say, go. He's telling it where to go. He can command. That is what bracha means. Now the next paragraph. The advantage that bracha has over davening, over tefillah, is when we are talking about the person who's giving the blessing, as opposed to the person who's davening. Anyone can daven, but to give a bracha, you have to be there for the bracha to be successful. Anyone could daven for something and it might work. But to give a bracha, you have to, for it to work, to be able to command, this should happen and it will happen, you have to be on the level. That's the advantage of bracha over tefillah. That because the person's on a high level, they can demand it and it'll happen. But but as far as what comes down as a result of a bracha, as opposed to what can be drawn down through tefillah, you can draw down much higher things through tefillah than through bracha. Why? Because a bracha can only draw down something that is in potential in the source, waiting to come down. It's there already, it just needs to be drawn down. But you can't, through a bracha, draw down something new. Something that was not going to happen, that is not in the source, that wasn't even in potential. Tefillah, prayer, davening is a request from Hashem that even if this is not in store for me, it's not in potential, it's not coming to me, it's not waiting to come down in the source. Not only that, even if in the source there's a decree that a person should be sick, God forbid, or whatever it is, what's in store is something negative. That's what's been decided in the heavens. Nevertheless, I'm requesting, through tefillah, I'm requesting that there should be drawn down a new hashpah, a new flux from the infinite light of Hashem above ishtalshlus, above the system.
So that other one we learned about Rosh Hashanah and your bank account, that can all be changed with davening.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what tefillah is. That's what davening is. Davening is saying that even though there's no potential for this is not coming, it's not just that I'm waiting for it to come down, I want it to come down now. It's not coming down for me. In fact, what was decreed is different. What was decreed for me is something negative, God forbid. My tefillah is saying, Hashem, I'm asking you to change that.
Is this just
override it, rewrite it.
Is this just outlook? Can that be applied, like if you look at the Rebbe's brachos?
This
The Rebbe gave your brachos straight out, or if he said, I'm going to mention it by the
Probably the best would be for a tzaddik to daven for you.
then he's going to draw,
Right.
he can draw
Right.
down. But does that mean that
But-
you were supposed to have something else and he's now going to change it?
But there's still a disadvantage to davening. Davening is you can ask for something new, but you're only asking.
Yeah.
You're requesting. The answer might be no.
Bracha you draw down.
A bracha is you're commanding, and it's going to have to happen.
For someone who has davened for years and years and years and years for a child, and they don't have one, and they go to the Rabbi gives them a bracha, and they have a baby. Like, that is a bracha for a baby, and it comes true. Does that mean that their davening might not have, been...
Look, the difficulty of davening is that it's milamata l'mayla. You're requesting it, and therefore you need to be deserving somehow. It's not so simple.
Yeah, but if it's in your
But
bank
how is it not
account,
deserving
aren't you
when the Rebbe
deserving
just
of
said
it?
the bracha?
It means that at some stage, in some level, you're deserving of it. But we learned in another maimah, it might come down in another form, some spiritual form, or you might have it in another world, not in this world. It's in your account, but who knows how you're going to cash it. A bracha is it being drawn down. A tefillah is asking for it to come down. And if it's not there at all, if it's not in your account at all, so tefillah could achieve that. But might not. There's not a guarantee. So the Rebbe explains, well, on the fourth last line of the paragraph there at the end, this is the explanation of a phrase that we use over and over again in our davening. We say Yehi Ratzon. What does Yiratzon mean?
Maybe.
May Yiratzon mean may there be a will. It's a funny thing to say. May it be your will. Yiratzon lefanecha. May there be a will before you. What does that mean? So it's a very strange thing to say. Imagine going up to somebody and saying, could you please want to help me?
If Hashem wants it, it just happens.
Could you please have a desire to help me now? I don't. Sorry. Yiratzon, please have a desire. May you have a desire. Oh, so what does it mean? Now we understand. The pirush Yiratzon hushi Yiratzon chadash. That's exactly what we're asking. We're saying Yiratzon means please Hashem have a new will. I know you didn't want this. You weren't planning on this. This wasn't in your divine plan. I'm asking for a new plan. Yiratzon, may you have this will. A bracha is that it's there already, and a tzaddik or whoever is commanding, let it come down now. In this form, for this person right now. Let it come down. A tefillah is that it's not been planned. It's not there in the potential. Yiratzon, Hashem, we want you to want this. Please want this. A ratzon chadash. So what's more powerful? A bracha or a tefillah?
Both have pros and cons.
The advantage of a bracha is...
Depends what?
It's on your bank account, then you want tefillah.
Right. So the advantage of a bracha is that if you get a
just go
bracha from the right
road.
person,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
it's
You're all set.
going to
All
happen.
your bases.
Yeah.
If you've got the bracha, it's happening. Like the story of the lady. Did I tell you this one? The lady went to one of the Vision Rebbes, and she said that the doctors have told her she's got a serious disease, and she needs an operation. So the Vision Rebbe said, okay, so get the operation. And she says, I've booked an operation, but they say that it's going to be a long time. I'm in a waiting list, and it's going to be a while. So he says, okay, so what do you want? So she says, I want a bracha that I should be healthy till the operation. So Vision Rebbe gives her bracha, you should be healthy till the operation. And she never goes to the operation. And she's fine. Because she got a bracha that should be healthy till the operation. So why should she go?
I've never heard this story. That's hilarious.
So if you know what a bracha is, and you know what a tzaddik is, so if the tzaddik is giving you a bracha, so then you got it. You got the bracha. So bracha in that way is much more powerful. It's not maybe. Here it is. It's in your source. It's being drawn down. Tefillah doesn't have that guarantee. You're asking, you hear what's please have a new will. Maybe the answer is no. But what's more powerful about tefillah is that the bracha is only if it's there in potential, it can be drawn down in actuality. That's the limit of a bracha. Whereas tefillah is unlimited. You're asking for something that's impossible. I'm asking for it to happen. Something that was not going to happen. It's not deserved. I'm asking for it to happen. One sec. So why indeed? Hashem has set up this system where there's the things that are deserving. There's this whole system, this elaborate system of what each soul deserves, and this is what comes to you, and this is what comes down to you, and this is your potential, and this is what is in your pipeline. And a bracha is only going to come true if it's there in your potential. And yet, he's then set up this side channel where, but if you daven, maybe I'll change my mind. Meaning a tzaddik is limited to only giving you a bracha that's in your potential. Whereas you, or your friend, could daven, and that might give you something that even a tzaddik couldn't give you, even a bracha can't give. And that is something there was no potential there for it. What a weird system. So the end of the paragraph explains why. The end of the third last line. The reason why there's an ability to draw down a new light, an unexpected, undeserved new plan, and it's through tefillah specifically. Not through a bracha, but through tefillah. Even though a bracha is talking about somebody who's on a higher level, whereas tefillah is anybody down here asking for it to come down. Because that's exactly what Hashem wanted. Hashem wanted that we should have input in the system. He wants us to do something about it. He wants there to be some dynamic, some interaction here. It shouldn't just be passively receiving what's waiting to come down, and at the most rushing it through a bracha. But He wants us, through our efforts, to actually draw down things, new things. So through davening, which means you refining yourself. Davening means working on yourself, opening yourself up, stretching yourself, nullifying yourself, looking into yourself. That's what davening is. That's the whole avodah of davening. It's avodah samata, you working on yourself. Through doing that, magim la'on sev shel l'mayla mishtalshus, you can reach the infinite light of Hashem that's above the entire system. Because there's nothing that Hashem wants more than you to work on yourself. To receive a bracha is totally passive. It's milayla lamata. It's up there. It's being dragged down to you. You are who you are. You didn't change. Davening is you working on yourself, changing, stretching yourself, and that has the power to draw down a bracha that a bracha can't bring down, because it's a new light, a light that wasn't there in potential. It reaches much higher. So with this understanding of the difference between bracha and tefillah, we'll understand that Rashbi had the power in his Torah to draw down that which tefillah usually brings down in a way of bracha. He had the best of both worlds. And he had it in his Torah. That God willing, we'll have to see next week. Yeah. You have a question?
No, I just want to know if maybe sometimes when brachas from the Rebbe or from any of the Rabbeim were not answered, like they weren't what the people wanted, is it possible that they were given without the potential for that bracha for that person?
Sorry, again?
So you know how you can only give a bracha, and even like the Rebbe, if the bracha would only come true if it was meant for that person in their spiritual bank account.
Yes.
So is it possible? Are you saying that the Rabbeim knew what was in that account, so they wouldn't give a bracha if there was no bracha available?
No.
Right. Okay.
That's what saying, like, change the subject.
Right.
Or they give a vague bracha.
Well, couldn't they then just go and daven? Isn't their davening even worth tenfold of what
but that's
our
not a bracha. They might have gone and davened, but that's not a bracha. So when somebody asked that somebody should be healed from a sickness, and the Rebbe saw that wasn't in the potential, he couldn't give a bracha for that, so he would say, there should be good news.
Is that a bracha?
It is a bracha, but it's not refuah shlema.
Yeah.
Why didn't he tell them to go and daven?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think there's no better way to call something to daven than when you didn't get a bracha.
You're right. Only if they know, though.
There's a story that somebody came to the Rebbe Rashab, desperate for a bracha. I think it was for Parnas or something, but desperate for a bracha. And he came to the Rebbe Rashab, and the Rebbe Rashab said to him, "Sorry, can't help you."
Wow.
And he walked out of the Rebbe Rashab's office and he collapsed and fainted. So the Razor, Zalman Aaron, the Rebbe Rashab's brother, older brother, walked by, found this guy and revived him and asked him what happened. And he told the whole story. He travelled very far to the Rebbe Rashab with his bracha, and this was like his last chance. Like, he knew that this bracha, like, it has to be, otherwise his life's going to fall apart. And he was refused. The Rebbe Rashab said, "I can't give you a blessing." So the Razor went into his brother, the Rashab. He said, "What's going on? A Yid comes for a bracha and you don't give it to him? Like, at least say something nice, just refuse him like that." So he says, "Well, what happened?" So he told him how he fainted and So the Rosh Hashanah said, "Okay, call him in." So he called him in, and the Rebbe Shab gave him a beautiful bracha. And it worked. So the Rebbe told the story many times. What happened here? What's the beginning? What's the end? If the Rebbe Shab couldn't give him a bracha, so then couldn't give him a bracha. Finished. Like there's nothing to talk about. And for his brother to come and say that's not nice, so he says, "Oh yeah, you're right. Call him in. I'll give him a bracha." Well, he changed his mind. Pressure. Like what changed? So what changed?
Why don't the dude have to faint?
Why?
Surrender.
He changed. The guy changed.
He wanted it so badly.
In the state he was when he first came to the Rebbe Shab, he was not a vessel for a bracha. There was no possibility for the bracha. He didn't have it coming to him. When the Rebbe Shab refused him, that broke him completely. He had everything pinned on the Rebbe Shab's blessing. Like, this is where it's coming from. And it was only when that fell apart, then he turned to Hashem. That's when he davened. That's when he became a vessel that could receive more than was deserving. He wasn't deserving of the blessing until he fell apart. Then he became a broken vessel that's open to receive a higher bracha. So to be refused, to be told no, there's no greater inspiration than that to start davening. All right.
Thank you.